Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged. They don't know what the crime is. That's what the problem is. It's a disgrace. This thing ought to be ended immediately. The judge ought to end it and save his reputation.
Former President Trump ramping up his attacks and outrage as his historic hush money trial draws to a close. What to expect as the jury now deliberates. I'm Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. And it is all up to 12 New Yorkers who will now decide the fate of former President Donald Trump in what is likely to be his only criminal trial before Election Day. And it's all up to that jury now. And even though we don't know what they're saying to each other in that closed room around that long table, we do know the instructions they got today were so detailed it took over an hour to go through them. Judge Merchan reminding the jurors that they must set aside any personal opinions or bias. Prosecutors charged Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business records. Meanwhile, Trump went on a posting storm over at his Truth Social platform, calling it all a kangaroo court, calling the judge corrupt and conflicted. And remember, this is a judge who has pretty broad authority to determine when Trump's sentence is handed down, if he's convicted, and what that sentence exactly will be. And let's bring in NBC's Dasha Burns, who has been out there all day. Dasha, it is all speculation on what the jury is talking about right now, except when they send out a note with a specific question, and then we get a glimpse at what's going on. And we got one of those today, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in fact, the first note had everyone here in the press pen having a mini heart attack because we didn't know whether it was going to be a note with questions or whether it could potentially be the verdict, which I think we're going to have a few more of those over the course of the next couple of days. The note, though, requested 4 things. The first note, they requested to hear some testimony again, requesting David Pecker's testimony. Remember, he is was the publisher of the Inquirer. His testimony regarding the phone conversation he had with Donald Trump while he was in an investor meeting. They also requested Pecker's testimony about there's been a lot of this over the course of the last couple of days. People are heated here. Requesting testimony from Pecker about finalizing the transfer of Karen McDougal's life rights to Trump. Remember, Karen McDougal is the playmate that alleges an affair with the former president. And then the last 2 requests were testimony from both Pecker and Michael Cohen about that critical August 2015 Trump Tower meeting between Pecker, Cohen, and Trump. And then we got one more note, Gadi, which was a request to hear the jury instructions again. Those jury instructions were complicated. It took over an hour for Judge Juan Merchan to give the instructions to the jury. And I've talked to legal experts who say even the most sophisticated lawyers, it's a complicated, nuanced case. So that's what we're expecting tomorrow to begin with, is rereading those jury instructions and hearing the testimony that the jurors requested, Gadi.
Yeah, those instructions seem encyclopedic. We also saw Trump going off on Truth Social, also going off outside the courthouse, and even sending out a fundraising email. What's he saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've been getting those fundraising emails pretty much nonstop, especially since the 2 sides closed their arguments. But he has been saying really the same thing that we've been hearing over and over again, which is that this is unfair, that this is unjust. At one point, he did say that even Mother Teresa couldn't get a fair trial here, sending out more notes like that. And he's been quoting different lawyers and legal experts that have been going on air and making arguments favorable to him. And he's been firing those Truth Social posts off every couple of minutes. Got to get in a lot of them.
Got it. Dasha Burns, thank you so much. And now let's bring in Sarah Azari. She is a white-collar criminal defense attorney and author of Unprecedented, a book exploring the criminal allegations against Trump. Sarah, let's start with the day Judge Merchan giving these very detailed instructions to the jury that took over an hour to read. But the thing that blows my mind is that this jury is not allowed to have those instructions inside of the deliberation room. What's that about?
Yeah, that blows my mind too, Gadi, because this is such a complex case. It's got the nuanced layers of crime. You've got the, falsifying business records, but then it's contingent. It becomes a felony if it's in fact for election interference and campaign finance violations. This jury, more than any jury, needs the instructions in front of them, needs the elements in front of them so that they could properly apply the law to the facts. Now, the fact that there are two lawyers on this jury is helpful, but even as a lawyer, you don't remember those complicated instructions on 34 counts. So I can't wrap my head around why the judge did not want to give them the instructions, but they've clearly come back and asked for rereads of those instructions.
Yeah, I mean, even with the lawyers on the jury, as you said, that's a lot to get through. We also know that Mershon talked a lot about what needs to be unanimous and what doesn't need to be unanimous. Trump conspiring to promote or prevent election by unlawful means, quote, has to be unanimous, right? Mm-hmm. Other things like the violation of tax laws or business record things, those don't have to be unanimous. What's the detail there?
I mean, it's so nuanced that, to be honest with you, I haven't delved into the instructions themselves, but that is just why this is so complicated. And I think that the questions that these jurors came back with today at least gave me some solace that they're paying attention to what really matters, which is the intent and knowledge. Did Donald Trump know about the hush money, and was it for the purpose of political gain as opposed to personal reputation? Because that's what this trial is really about. And so, to me, those questions were, really not beneficial necessarily to eat one side versus the other. But I think both sides need to be at least hopeful that this jury is really paying attention, despite the complexity that you just explained.
This jury is paying attention, but there's 12 of them. I know that 2 of them are probably paying attention, the lawyers on the jury. But then I could also see, like, if I was on that jury, my head would be spinning. Yeah. And at some point, you think that maybe some of the others may check out with the complexity. Is that a risk here?
Yeah, it is. And, remember, this is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by unanimous verdict, or not guilty by unanimous verdict. And so there is a chance of a mistrial, although I believe this is a guilty verdict. I think the prosecution has done a fantastic job making their case and meeting their burden. But there's a possibility there could be a hung jury. And, of course, with the Allen instruction in New York, some jurisdictions have it. The judge can really pressure the jury to go back until they can reach a verdict. And then, of course, if they don't, whether or not the prosecution will retry Donald Trump depends on how many votes for guilt and how many votes for not guilty.
When it comes to the Allen Act, that basically means a jury comes back and says, look, some people are feeling this way, other people we are never going to see eye to eye. And then the judge will be like, no, get back in there and try again, over and over again?
Over and over until so the judge can actually put tremendous pressure on a jury to stay in there for as long as they need to until they can reach a unanimous verdict, whichever way they go. But then, look, at some point, the judge also draws the line and says, all right, what is it? And they'll say, we can't decide, or they'll say guilty or not guilty. And so if it's a hung, the DA's office, Bragg, can very well retry Donald Trump if he has more guilty votes than not guilty votes.
We shall see. So thanks so much for being with us.
Of course.
And in Texas, hundreds of thousands are still without power tonight from severe storms that caused widespread damage across that state. And what is really worrying is that this might be the calm before another round of storms. We know at least one person was killed in the last 24 hours from storms that brought massive hail, flooding, hurricane-force winds, and they led to crazy rescues like this. These are people that are trying to help someone that is trapped inside that truck that got stuck in a flooded overpass. God for those heroes. It's not just in Texas. Colorado got hit with some pretty intense hailstorms overnight. Storms are still firing up tonight across the Great Plains, but it is the next 2 days that will bring even more severe conditions again for millions. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns is standing by with the latest forecast. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Sam Brock, who's in Dallas. And Sam, you've got trees down behind you. That's usually the telltale sign that power is still out for a lot of people. What's the situation right now with hundreds of thousands still without power?
So Encore is the name of the local energy provider, Gadi, and they say in the last 24 hours they've restored more than 350,000 customers' power, which sounds like a lot, and yet they're still in the neighborhood of 220,000 customers throughout the state of Texas with no power. That is kind of an insane number. It's about 2/3 of all the people in Texas who don't have power right now. As far as the conditions on the ground, I mean, you see this in various neighborhoods. This wasn't tornadic activity over the last 24 to 48 hours. These were straight line storms, and yet still you're seeing trees that were pulled up from their roots and strewn across streets like right here where they've knocked down power lines and fiber optic cables and all of that. I would say as far as how people are feeling about it, I mean, just look at the profile of those who live in these neighborhoods. I'm in South Dallas right now, 10 or 15 minutes from downtown. This profiles largely as an older population, 60s, 70s, 80s, on fixed income in some cases. Many of them have medical concerns. I spoke with a gentleman whose wife is on dialysis, also has a pacemaker. It's plugged in for electrical purposes. Those devices now running on batteries that he doesn't know how long it's going to last, and it could be a couple more days before power is restored for everyone. I also spoke with a woman named Velma Freeman. She's lived here for a number of years. She's 70 as well. Just spent a bunch of money filling up her fridge and then had to open it to be able to get some food to eat, and all that cool air just left. She has to replace all of her food. She's also worried about her health. Take a listen to a part of our exchange. How devastating is it to lose $100 in a second?
It's devastating because that means I got to throw this stuff away and go back to the grocery store.
If it's another day or two, what does that mean to someone like you?
I have to leave. I have to leave my home.
That's a snapshot right now, Gadi. So far, we have not heard any reports of people who have gotten seriously ill because of a lack of electricity or access to it, but wouldn't be surprising to see something like that develop. This goes on for a few more days.
Sam, that brings up, I mean, so many people on fixed incomes, and you'd think that the power company has some of the information on the makeup of the neighborhoods that are impacted. Is there a strategy for deciding which communities get their power restored first, or is this kind of one of those throw all the resources at the grid all at once?
You know, I was surprised to learn there is a strategy. How exactly it works. Unsurprisingly, the power companies begin with places like hospital and critical care centers, but then they go, I'm told, to areas where it's clear they can affect the largest number of customers the most quickly. But it is sort of irrespective of who's in certain communities. So if it's older, more vulnerable, more medically inclined to need assistance, they're not targeting that specific demographic. They're just trying to get the largest mass of people, which you get. But also there are certain people that need more help than others and really are more at risk right now. That's what we're watching. The timeline that's been provided from Encore is Friday or Saturday at the latest for the hardest hit areas. But right now it's Wednesday. This started Tuesday morning. So for some of these folks, it's already been almost 48 hours. 72, 96 hours and beyond, that would be really, really difficult. Hopefully they and the city can get this buttoned up well before then, Gadi.
Saturday, that is crazy to think. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns, who is tracking what's in store for the next couple of days. Hey there, Bill.
Gadi, the severe weather is not over, but the tornado threat is a little bit behind us. We're not going to see any of those big tornado outbreaks over the next couple of days. Wind damage, it looks like to be the biggest issue, and that's, by the way, why they're cleaning up in areas around Dallas from the big one that hit yesterday morning. So for the rest of tonight, isolated severe storms are possible here. We got roughly about 1 million people in the at-risk zone, but it's going to be pretty widespread. Large hail and some damaging wind possible with these storms. As far as what's happening now, notice some of the storms have popped up here. They're heading and rolling through areas near Rapid City and up towards Glendive here. Also in areas of extreme eastern Colorado. There was one tornado reported. You get little small tornadoes sometimes out in the plains here in eastern Colorado, and that's all that happened earlier today. We should, fingers crossed, get through it without many problems. Then we start to have more issues Thursday into Friday. Notice that we're going from, once again, northeast, North Texas, all the way through central and northern Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is going to be for Thursday. And then by the time we get to the Friday risk, again, Dallas, Fort Worth, and then those storms rolling through Houston and into areas of Louisiana. These are the same areas that have gotten soaked storm after storm. So we actually have a flash flooding threat along with the wind damage threat and the possibility of some hail. So here's what our futurecast is showing. So let's take this out at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is the line that's left of the storms that's forming tonight. This will try to make a run for areas somewhere around Dallas, Fort Worth to Waco. With it could be some damaging winds. This will be, heading towards the noon hour tomorrow. So a little bit of unusual time for that. Then we'll see that line dying off. Then Thursday evening, a new line of storms, and this one looks to race across the state. This is the one that has the best chance of adding more people to the power outages. I paused this at 1 a.m. Friday, so unfortunately this is hitting, middle of the night. People are asleep. Damaging winds are possible. This Austin, watch out. San Antonio, Waco to Dow. Somewhere in this vicinity. We won't really be able to pinpoint it until the storms get to us. And then those storms race all the way into Louisiana during the day on Friday. So as far as the forecast as we head through Friday, there's that storm threat as it heads to the east. Notice East Coast is fine. West Coast is fine, although the heat is building in the west. By the time we get to Saturday, the chance of some storms and rain more towards the Mississippi River Valley instead of Texas. So Texas will finally get a break. Notice much of the west all warm, lots of sunshine building there. And on Sunday, unfortunately, still kind of unsettled through the Tennessee Valley and all through the Mississippi Valley. No problems on the immediate East Coast and on the West Coast. So, Gadi, we'll watch all eyes on Texas. We already have, hundreds of thousands of people still without power, and another potential big windstorm is on the way.
Bill Cairns, thank you. And tonight, 3 black passengers are suing American Airlines, saying they were discriminated against based on their race. Now, earlier this year, the men say 8 black men in total were removed from a flight from Phoenix to New York after someone complained about a, quote, offensive body odor. Here's how one of them described it to CBS this morning.
As I got my things and walked to the front of the plane and made a left to the jet bridge, I noticed that there was 7 other black men. And that kind of was like, okay, what's happening here?
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Emily Akeda for more.
Hey there, Gadi. Well, the lawsuit not mincing words, accusing American Airlines of being blatant and egregious race discrimination. Of the 8 men who apparently were forced off the plane, 3 of them now are suing with a federal lawsuit. You can see them on your screen. Alvin Jackson, Emmanuel Jean Joseph, and Xavier Veal. They didn't know each other. They weren't sitting near each other. They later learned that they had apparently been forced off because of a complaint of body odor. And there are several videos handed over from their attorneys that captured their disbelief, their confusion, their frustration as they're being ushered off the plane. They're deboarding the plane. You can hear comments in those videos like, we're the only ones getting taken off the plane. Look at us. I paid for the flight just like everybody else. Here's more from their interview with CBS. Take a listen.
It's almost inconceivable to come up with an explanation for that other than the color of their skin, particularly since they didn't know each other, they weren't sitting near each other. It seems fairly apparent that race was part of this dynamic.
So the lawsuit says after they were forced off the plane, they were at the gate, they were then let back on that same flight, leading them back to JFK later that night, resulting in about an hour-long delay, according to the lawsuit. We reached out to American Airlines for comment. They responded saying, we take all claims of discrimination very seriously and want our customers to have a positive experience when they choose to fly with us. Our teams are currently investigating the matter as the claims do not reflect our core values or our purpose of caring for people. The lawsuit also goes on to say they do not believe this is an isolated incident, citing back in 2017 when the NAACP had issued a travel advisory warning black passengers against traveling with American Airlines, citing a string of what then was recent incidents. They said possible racial bias. The airline had invited the NAACP to their headquarters. The CEO at the time said he was disappointed to learn of that travel advisory, which was lifted about 9 months later. Gadi?
Emily Akeda, thank you. And don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Up next, why North Korea is sending poop balloons to its neighbors. Yeah, you heard us right. Poop balloons. NBC's Megan Fitzgerald has the details in just a moment. But first, Panda Watch. Well, not so much a watch as much as just the return of pandas to the National Zoo in D.C., the black and white of the deal that brought the furry friends back from China. And later this hour, we're looking beneath the surface of the ocean to search for UFOs, or USOs as they're being called now. We've got a very high-ranking naval officer who is raising questions about what the government does and doesn't know, and that is in tonight's Future of Everything, so don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back. We've got the latest in Rafah while IDF and military leaders pledge to continue their campaign. We're going to get to all that in a moment, but first, let's take a quick look around the world. A probe looking into that deadly Singapore Airlines flight found a rapid drop in altitude caused those injuries on board. Last week, a man died after the flight from London to Singapore hit severe turbulence. So severe, in fact, that the plane dropped almost 200 feet in less than a second. And India is having an extremely bad heat wave right now. Forecasters there are issuing a red alert as temperatures hit record highs in some places. The capital, New Delhi, even hitting their highest ever at 122 degrees. And polls are closed in South Africa's election and counting is underway. It is the most competitive vote since the end of apartheid. We're expecting some partial results tonight, but determining the winner could take a few days. Polls there are showing the country's ANC ruling party could end up losing their majority. And a Mount Everest climber has a new title, the fastest female climber. It only took Fungjo Lama 14 hours and 31 minutes to finish that trek. And despite some harsh words from the Biden administration, there will be no official change in the United States' policy on Israel, and the IDF is showing no signs of slowing down its offensive in Gaza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking earlier today about the operation.
We also see that even limited, focused, targeted attacks designed to deal with terrorists who've killed innocent civilians and are plotting to kill more. Even those kind of operations can have terrible, horrific, unintended consequences.
Israel, meanwhile, appears to be forging ahead with a top Israeli official saying the war will continue on for months. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez reports from Tel Aviv.
Hey there, with Israel stepping up its offensive in Rafah and the number of Palestinian civilians killed growing by the day, the White House is facing new questions about where exactly is President Biden's red line and has Israel crossed it? Now, the line from John Kirby, the spokesman for the National Security Council, is that President Biden does not want to see a large-scale Israeli ground offensive involving lots of units, involving the levels of destruction that we saw in northern Gaza. And the White House believes that at this point, we have not seen that happen. But earlier today, a senior Israeli official saying Israel believes this war will continue at least until the end of the year. And that likely means that there will be more bloody days like what we saw on Sunday night when an Israeli airstrike igniting a firestorm in a camp for displaced people, killing at least 45. Many of them are women and children, according to the emergency services in Hamas-run Gaza. Now, the IDF releasing what it says is the initial investigation into that strike. They say they used 2 small bombs to target Hamas leaders meeting at a structure inside of that camp. But they say there was some kind of secondary explosion which caused that firestorm. They are saying the weapons they used were too small to have caused that fire itself. They are suggesting possibly there were Hamas weapons hidden inside the camp which caused that secondary blast. They haven't provided any evidence of that. An Israeli official also suggested to NBC News it's possible that a gas tank ignited. The Pentagon is also confirming a report we did earlier that the U.S. military has been forced to suspend the delivery of aid into Gaza by sea after that temporary pier off the coast of Gaza was damaged in bad weather. That is a major blow to the humanitarian effort at a time when the Rafah crossing, the main lifeline for food and aid into Gaza, remains closed. Now, an Israeli official tells NBC News that Israel has drawn up a new ceasefire proposal and has presented that to the American and the Qatari mediators. But at this point, Hamas says they haven't seen that proposal, and there is no indication right now that these talks, stalled for so long, are going to lead to significant progress. Back to you.
Raf Sanchez, thank you. And now to a simply bizarre story out of Korea. 2 words, poop balloons, or how about descending dookie, or maybe even floating feces, whatever you want to call it. South Korea is accusing its northern neighbor of flying balloons filled with trash and manure across the border. And NBC international correspondent Megan Fitzgerald has more.
The South Korean government issued an emergency air raid warning Wednesday, and it's not for what you'd think. It was triggered by hundreds of balloons filled with everything from trash and waste to propaganda leaflets to fertilizers and manure. A really bizarre tactic, to say the least. It was all in the name of retaliation. A few weeks ago, in early May, a North Korean defector who turned into a human rights activist launched 20 balloons carrying hundreds of thousands of leaflets condemning North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. So then we saw this warning from North Korea's vice defense minister of this tit-for-tat action that was coming. And sure enough, that's what we saw on Wednesday. Some 200 balloons raining down over South Korea. Residents were warned not to touch those balloons. Now that we know what was inside, obvious reasons why. Back to you.
That stinks. Megan, thank you. Coming up, convicted murderer Scott Peterson is back in court trying to claim his innocence 20 years after his wife's death. We're going to have those details. Oh, but first, you got to see this. You know what's a bad idea? To be driving and on a Zoom call at the same time. And what's worse, to be driving and on a Zoom call for a court appearance. And what's even worse than that, to be driving on a Zoom call for a court appearance about driving on a suspended license. That's what happened in an Ann Arbor courtroom a couple of weeks ago. And that astonished the judge in the video. Take a look.
Are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
The man driving with a suspended license had his bond revoked and was ordered to turn himself in that evening. Can't catch him zooming the streets now. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the headlines happening out west that we're following. David DePape was back in court today, this time for his state trial. He's already been sentenced to 30 years in prison by a federal jury. Now, opening arguments began today in the state's case where he's facing attempted murder charges for attacking Paul Pelosi with the hammer back in 2022. And an Idaho jury is now deliberating whether Chad Daybell is guilty of triple murder. He's been charged in the deaths of his ex-wife and 2 stepchildren, and he pled not guilty to the murder. He is facing the death penalty if he is convicted, and his current wife, Lori Vallow, was sentenced to life in prison last year. And it was a close call for an F-35 military fighter pilot after he crashed near Albuquerque's airport in New Mexico. Now, he was traveling from Texas to California yesterday after refueling when he crashed. And he was able to eject before that impact, but was still hurt pretty bad. He's now recovering at a hospital, and officials are looking into the cause of the crash. And tonight, we've got some breaking news with Scott Peterson's attempt at a retrial for his infamous murder case. Let's go to NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz outside of the Los Angeles Superior Court. Liz, what happened? What's this DNA evidence that lawyers think could prove he's not the killer?
Yeah. Hey, Gadi. Well, we just wrapped up this day-long hearing, and the judge made a ruling that really is going to be a setback for Scott Peterson and his quest for a new trial here. He had been asking for several pieces of evidence to be allowed to be tested with this new DNA testing. This is with the backing now of the LA Innocence Project behind him. But at the end of the day here, the judge ruled that no new DNA testing will be able to happen on almost all of these items, specifically what the lawyers had been hoping for, which was this bloody mattress they say was inside a burned out orange van found in Modesto the day after Laci disappeared. They wanted to find out whether the blood on that mattress was Laci Peterson's to make the case that somebody maybe abducted Laci, someone else other than Scott Peterson, and did something in that van. But at the end of the day, the judge said they did not make their argument, and the previous testing had showed that it was the DNA of a man, meaning it was not Laci's, and she said no new testing on that. But Gadi, she is going to allow testing on one item, and that is duct tape that was found on Laci Peterson's pants when she washed up on the San Francisco Bay. So that will be allowed, but still not the outcome that Scott Peterson was hoping for.
So in this one piece of evidence, does that present a big enough opportunity to redo this entire case?
You know, I think that's a great question, Gadi, and I think it seems very challenging. I mean, it has been over 20 years since this murder. It happened in 2002. He was convicted in 2004. So we're talking about some duct tape that's over 20 years old, that was not only old, but was literally in the Bay, the San Francisco Bay. So whether or not it's even really viable, I think is going to be a challenge. And then what they find, I think it's going to be a big uphill battle now for Scott Peterson to get this new trial. But the judge did explicitly say that if something comes to light, some kind of evidence and DNA comes to light in this testing, that she says it could warrant a new trial. So they're going to move forward with this, and there's more hearings scheduled for the coming months.
Any word from the Innocence Project or Scott Peterson?
No, Scott Peterson just sat there. He joined virtually via Zoom from prison. We watched him. He was quiet the whole time, taking notes as well. And he didn't really have much of a reaction when the judge made this ruling. His brother and sister-in-law were here in the courtroom. They have supported him all these years. I asked his sister-in-law, Janie, whether she would comment on this. She said she would not. The attorneys just walked out as well. The attorneys on both sides. So at this point, no comment from anybody. And Lacey Peterson's family has also not commented on any of this since the LA Innocence Project took on the case. Scotty.
We'll see what happens next. Liz, thank you so much for that. Yeah. And still to come, giant pandas are heading from China to the U.S. So is this a step in the right direction for our relationship with China? That's all just ahead, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. Major League Baseball is updating its records to include an important part of history. NBC's Shaq Brewster is going to have that story in just a moment. But first, here are some of the headlines we're watching tonight. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is ignoring calls to step aside from Trump-related cases over recent reports about flags he has at his private properties. Now, the reports mention two incidents, the first being an upside-down U.S. flag flown in 2021 right after January 6th. And Biden's inauguration, and the second came a year after, where a flag with the words "Appeal to Heaven" was flown. Now, Alito says the flags do not meet the conditions for recusal and that the flags were raised by his wife. And in Florida, a woman is suing a sheriff after she says she was forced out of her home naked in front of her kids twice while deputies searched her home. And it's the same sheriff that's under fire in the fatal shooting of a black Air Force senior man earlier this month. The woman who says she wasn't arrested or charged in either incident is seeking $1 million in damages, and her lawyer says she was not the target of the warrants. And travelers headed to Fort Lauderdale from Jamaica got quite the scare when they heard this announcement from the pilot.
That announcement is that we have to make an emergency water landing. All of a sudden, everybody just freaking out, people screaming, people over here praying. I'm crying like hell because I literally thought I was going to die.
Could you imagine? Over 200 passengers were told to put on life vests. A Spirit Airlines spokesperson said the plane suffered a suspected mechanical issue and returned to Montego Bay. Thankfully, the plane landed safely and no one was hurt. And Nissan is telling more than 84,000 people with older model vehicles to stop driving because of a defective airbag that led to the deaths of 27 people in the U.S. Now, more than 400 people have been hurt by them, too, and Nissan says people can go to their website to see if the car has been affected and then get an airbag replaced for free. And farmers in Iowa are facing tough orders. Over 4 million chickens will have to be killed after bird flu was detected at a large egg farm there. More than 92 million birds have been killed since the outbreak began in 2022, but officials say the risk to the public remains low. And remember earlier this month when the world's #1 golfer was arrested for a bunch of charges, including assaulting a police officer right before he was set to tee off? Well, today, all of those charges have been dropped against Scottie Scheffler. Scheffler, the Louisville cop who made that arrest, failed to turn on his body cam at the time. And now there's this other body cam video that was leaked. And while the video is a bit grainy, it was confirmed to be authentic by both the Jefferson County Attorney's Office and Scheffler's lawyer. So take a good listen.
Guys. As he was reaching in the car, he grabbed my shoulder and hit me. Like trying to get you to stop, right? I pulled a little bit because I was afraid. I thought he was going to start hitting me, and I didn't know who he was. He didn't tell me he was a police officer.
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett, who has more details. So obviously this is great news for Scheffler, but that video is the first I heard that Scottie was hit with possibly a flashlight. What's he said after the charges were dropped?
Yeah, this video brings to light and kind of showcases all of the question marks that we've been asking during this whole case and as it's unfolded, right, Gadi? Because the key point, the key question mark was around the body cam the arresting officer was wearing. It doesn't exist because he didn't turn it on in time. And this was one of his colleagues that we got this body cam video from earlier today. But Scheffler obviously welcoming the news. He was facing some very serious charges. He posted on Instagram shortly after the court appearance, after this all went through. And he wrote, as I stated previously, this was an unfortunate misunderstanding. I hold no ill will towards Officer Gillis. I wish to put this incident behind me and move on. I hope he will do the same. This was a severe miscommunication in a chaotic situation. And the miscommunication and chaotic words were used very often, both in that leaked body cam video that you showed a little bit earlier and just throughout this whole situation. Scheffler's attorney also laid out that they have grounds for a lawsuit to sue the Louisville Police Department if they want to, but Scheffler doesn't want to go down that path. He really just wants to move on and keep playing golf.
Interesting. And do we know about how that video might have been leaked?
This is something, again, yet another question mark. The mayor's office, the police department, clearly not very happy that this happened. This was a video, the leak happened, I should say. This was a video that was considered under evidence as part of the investigation, and they were waiting to release any of that further evidence until the case was closed, the investigation was closed out, which we should be getting more of that information. We filed some open records requests today after the court appearance and the charges were officially dropped. But basically, the police department said that they ultimately have to send out this video with redactions. And so it's unclear if the leak came from within the police department or from a bystander or how exactly it happened. But the important note is that both the attorney's office and Scheffler's attorney confirmed the authenticity of it. And so it just adds another wrinkle to this very interesting, very chaotic, as we've heard often with this case, situation.
And yet he will continue to play on through. Maura, thank you. And we do our best here at Stay Tuned Now to bring you stories that have more than just one perspective, some nuanced stories, not stories that are black and white. But there's one exception, and that is giant pandas that are returning to the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Let's take a look at those pandas. The nation's capital has been pandaless since last November, but that's all going to change in just a few months. So here's NBC's Tom Costello with more.
They're 7,500 miles away, but Washington, D.C. is already excited about two 2-year-olds who spend their days devouring bamboo and tumbling down hills. The Smithsonian National Zoo now upgrading its panda exhibit for Bao Li, a male panda with a teenager's energy, and Jing Bao, a more reserved female, relocating to D.C. by the end of the year, part of a new 10-year loan.
It is proof positive of the success of our giant panda program.
For 5 decades, they were the biggest stars at the zoo, part of a global conservation program that helped grow the wild population from 1,000 to 1,900 pandas today, plus another 800 in zoos worldwide, moving from endangered to vulnerable.
If you want to save a species, you have to make more of them.
But last November, panda mania came to an end when the agreement expired just as U.S.-Chinese relations became strained. All U.S. zoos have been returning their pandas until this new pandaplomacy breakthrough.
That's great that they're coming back.
And with a family twist for the male Bao Li.
This is very full circle for us because his grandparents came here in 2000. His mom was our only female cub born here at National Zoo.
I encourage everyone to care for China-U.S. relations, just as you care for pandas, and jointly ushering a peaceful and prosperous future.
Perhaps a little panda détente isn't all bad. Tom Costello, NBC News at the National Zoo.
Panda détente, Tom, thank you. And now to a big change for Major League Baseball. The league is updating the record books to honor the milestones of some of the history great players. And here's Shaquille Brewster with more.
It's a dramatic shift in the recorded history of Major League Baseball. For the first time, MLB is including data from the Negro Leagues in official stats. Josh Gibson, who went pro in 1930, now has the league's #1 career and single-season batting average and slugging percentage, surpassing Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, and Barry Bonds.
This is a great day, not only for the Gibson family, but all the family members of Negro League baseball players.
Gibson's great-grandson says the honor is meaningful.
This will change how other people view him, but does it alter how you view him?
No. If Josh Gibson played in the Negro Leagues or the major leagues, he was still one of the greatest of all time.
The recognition coming after an independent committee spent more than 3 years reviewing a patchwork of available data, including thousands of box scores, with more than 2,300 players from the Negro Leagues now entered into the public database.
We have a whole lot of black baseball players who are great, who, but for the color of their skin, would be competing with Ty Cobb, would be striking out Babe Ruth.
In a statement, MLB says this initiative will ensure that future generations of fans have access to the statistics and milestones of all those who made the Negro Leagues possible. Last week, the league and its Players Association also announcing expanded financial assistance programs to support players from the Negro Leagues, but few are still alive.
We've caught up with our past. We've made it right. This is sort of reparations. Reparations come to Major League Baseball.
Official records honoring some of baseball's greats. Shaquille Brewster, NBC News.
About time. Shaquille, thank you. Before we go, it is time for the future of everything. We are talking UFOs tonight, or USOs, actually. A retired U.S. Navy admiral is going to join us, and he says the government might not be sharing all it knows about those unidentified phenomena. He's going to explain. That's coming up next, so stay tuned. And it is time now for the future of everything. And these days, it seems like to try and treat any type of disorder, there's always some sort of medication, right? But now, a video-like game is being used to treat ADHD, and it is getting such positive reviews that even NASA astronauts are trying it out. Jay Gray has that story.
Even a quick look online can be hypnotizing, fast-paced, overwhelming. Chaos, many doctors say, contributing to the explosion of attention deficit disorders in the U.S. According to the CDC, more than 14 million Americans have ADHD, including close to 6 million children.
And when we're on screens, our brain is literally dumping dopamine, the neurotransmitter that is so important for focus.
Focus is something 11-year-old Clinton Pierce and his parents say he struggled with for years.
I could, be in a whole conversation, and then 5 seconds later, I could be like, oh, look at that LeBron painting.
Formerly diagnosed with ADHD and initially prescribed Adderall, the drug helped for about a month, they say, before actually making things worse.
So that's when we fully started to explore different options.
Landing on an option that, ironically, includes more screen time. It's called Mindy, a new treatment for ADHD, depression, addiction, insomnia, and other cognitive issues. And here's how it works. Using a neurofeedback headband in conjunction with an online video game, patients concentrate on moving a ball up a hill, increasing blood flow and providing more oxygen to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus, attention, and emotion. The device, described as a gem for your brain, is endorsed by neuroscientists at Stanford, Princeton, and Lund, a research university in Sweden. And NASA is aiming to use Mindy as a part of its long-duration space flight mission later this year. A study conducted with the space agency shows astronauts using it during downtime have reported performance increases and say Mindy helps them manage the stress that comes with isolation and confinement, while other independent studies indicate the technology can be effective in treating ADHD. For Clinton, Mindy has struck the perfect chord.
It's helped me a lot, and I love it. It's pretty fun, actually.
He isn't taking medicine anymore and says using Mindy for about 10 minutes a day, along with a healthy diet, meditation, and therapy, has helped him excel as an athlete and in the classroom, where he was just named the 5th grade student of the semester.
I think it's really helped my attention and focus on somebody speaking. In class, maybe I'd get up and like do a little doodle during class like last year. But Mendy kind of like, it helped me focus on the ball, which helps me focus on my teacher and also like maybe my coach or my parents.
Increased focus that for Clinton and his family makes the treatment a slam dunk. Jay Gray, NBC News.
NBC's Jay Gray, thank you. Now I want to try one of those. We'll see about that. Finally tonight, we are talking UAPs or UFOs, and more specifically USOs, unidentified submerged objects, things that could be traveling through the water and the sky in ways that we can't explain. And before we dive into that conversation, I want to keep things in perspective, so we're going to set it up with these two videos in particular. This video, which shows the tail end of a very weird encounter between some fighter pilots flying off the Nimitz aircraft carrier and some weird tic-tac thing off the coast of California that, according to the wing commander, seemed to have been communicating with some much larger craft underneath the surface of the ocean before it flew away at insane speeds. And then there's this video. This is from Puerto Rico. It was captured by CBP, and it seemed to show an object fly in the air, then at one point dip into the ocean without losing speed, which is very, very, very weird. And we're talking about those two videos today because there's this new paper out by an extremely high-ranking former Navy officer and oceanographer who references them and says very clearly, quote, "The fact that unidentified objects with unexplainable characteristics are entering U.S. water space and the DOD is not raising a giant red flag is a sign that the government is not sharing all it knows about all-domain anomalous phenomenon," end quote. So with us today is the author of that paper, retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who is also the acting director of NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for some time. He was also the Undersecretary of the Commerce for Ocean and Atmosphere. He holds a master's, a PhD in oceanography, also the oceanographer of the Navy. So sorry, Rear Admiral, but when someone with that kind of resume posts a paper like this, I am going to take notice. Welcome to the show. First off, got to ask, in your opinion, are there things moving around in our oceans in ways that we cannot explain with conventional science? And do you have any examples?
100%. And you just showed two videos of those, Gadi, but also I know of eyewitness accounts from submarine officers as well as intelligence specialists who've seen classified video of these types of objects moving in ways we really couldn't do ourselves. And with technology, we are unable to reproduce.
Have you ever seen any of those videos, or do you have firsthand knowledge or experience with something like this?
I have not, but I know credible people who have. And I actually started to speak out about this because I did see something when I was in the Navy. On the Navy's secret network during a big exercise, I received a secret email from my boss, and it was addressed to myself and all the subordinate commanders who reported to my boss. So 20 flags, admirals, and senior executives. And the title of the email was Urgent Safety of Flight Issue. And attached to the email was the now very famous Go Fast video, the leaked UFO video from Navy F-18s. And he asked all of us on the line if we knew what it was, and if we did, tell him, because he was going to have to shut down the exercise. If not, because these craft were having near midair collisions multiple times with the Navy aircraft. I knew then and there it wasn't our technology. And then the next day, it was wiped from my computer, and no one ever talked about it. This major safety of flight issue. And I was also the chief meteorologist in the Navy, and safety of flight was my job. So I wasn't able to speak about it because I knew obviously it was compartmented in some special access program, and that's why when my boss sent it out, they wiped it all from everybody's computer. I'm coming out now to speak about this because this is a major safety concern. We're not able to understand and track what's in our airspace and water space.
Now, that was when you were in the military. I know you worked on a lot of classified projects. I think at one point you were working on classified projects involving unmanned drones, sensors, the types of stuff that may or may not be adversarial. So without getting into the specifics, because I know your classification, we can't talk about that stuff, but do you think that there's a chance that some of what we are seeing is adversarial, is from another country that has some sort of technological advantage that we just don't understand at this point?
No, I don't think so. I've been read into all the threats. I had a high clearance, top secret, special compartmented information, and I know that our adversaries don't have technologies like these. If they did, we should be worried. But we should be equally worried because they're being operated by entities we don't even understand and who they are and where they're from.
When you say who they are or where they're from, and you're saying they're being operated, do they look like they're under intelligent control?
Absolutely, they are. And we know now from the amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act last year that Senate Majority Leader Schumer introduced, called the Schumer Amendment about disclosing UAP information. We know now from that draft legislation that there are non-human intelligences visiting us in all domains, the sea, the sky, and we see reports over land. And they're using what they called in this amendment, technology of unknown origin. So this is a national or global security concern. And the reason I wrote about the aspect in the oceans is that's my background. I'm an expert in it. And we'll never have a complete understanding of these phenomena unless we look at the ocean too.
You also wrote that we know more about Mars, the surface of the moon, than we do about our own ocean. You have a science background. I got to ask, what do you think it is?
Well, there's a number of possibilities. I don't know, and most of the intelligence community does not know. But it could either be from elsewhere in the universe. Some people speculate it could be from another dimension, but I don't think we have the mathematics to just explain that, or the physics just yet, or even possibly within the planet somewhere. None of this is known, and that's why we really need deliberate and expanded scientific research on these phenomena to understand that.
I'm glad we have that in common. I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. Can't thank you enough for being with us, Rear Admiral. Thank you for your time. And that does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.